The next match was a very special why the do this match with 8 people. Now, bear in mind, they've got a 3-way match for their World Heavyweight title later on in the program with their alleged main event talent. So to make sure that that looks like shit, they put an 8-way with underneath and middle card guys and Chris Jericho on the undercard. For what?
Well, I remind you, this replaced what would have been Meat Madness,
Which was going to be from what at least 6 fucking guys.
But Miro had a toenail issue.
Well, there was a fungus underneath you.
And Keith Lee's doing Keith Lee, you know?
I think Keith Lee has a breathing issue. As in every morning when he wakes up, he has to hold a mirror in front of his fucking face, see if he's still alive. Anyway, this was Hook versus Hobbs. Hobbs, poor Hobbs. Dad, poor dad. Mama's thrown you in the closet and we're feeling so sad. Versus Lance Archer. He's still there. And Jake walked to the ring to stand there and look at all this. Versus Brian Cage. Versus Wardlow. Versus Dante Martin, who was there so the big guys could throw him, versus Magnus, and this is neither Nick Aldis's previous fucking gimmick in TNA nor Mark Magnus before he became Muhammad Hassan. This is some fucking guy wearing a mask from Mexico. Versus Chris Jericho. All 8 in the ring at the same time. Do what you want to do. Go where you want to go. Be who you want to be. And it was a scramble match is what we are told. And that was a thing that the fucking indies came up with 15 or 20 years ago when they realized that even though they had 19 matches on their card because nobody really got paid, there was still 8 or 10 guys that would get their feelings hurt if they weren't booked so they could wrestle in front of 172 people. So they put them on the show in a scramble match where they can all go out and show how great they are, Brian. And it's the same thing here, only everybody's getting paid. And Tony apparently did not want to hurt anyone's feelings by not putting them on the because why have this? Why? He thinks he's doing them a favor, putting them on pay-per-view in a match that will do nothing for anybody and is impossible to work and make sense.
It's a match for the fans, a match to guarantee some cheap pops and some oohs and ahs.
A match to make sure that the main event guys have that much less left to do that's going to get any kind of reaction, so they've got to dive through broken glass. So everybody did moves to everybody.
It wasn't broken when they dove through it. They broke it.
You caught me there. Good point there. I do stand corrected, sir, and I am ashamed of the error.
Thank you very much.
So you couldn't really tell whether anybody was a babyface or a heel here, but what difference would it fucking make? Because this was faker than a fucking football bat to begin with. And most of the guys spent the match sitting on the floor off camera waiting for their cues to come in.
There were pictures sent to us of that, actually, of Wardlow drinking water. Jericho hiding.
Wardlow wandered over to the fucking ringside and had a bottle of water while he was waiting for his cue, for his next scene. And then finally, the finish, imagine this. Wardlow powerbombed Dante Martin, 1, 2, 3. And this lasted 15 minutes of just nonsense over and over.
Couple things. What do you think of the reaction Jericho's getting?
I couldn't really tell he was getting that much of one.
He's not really getting one at all anymore right now.
Well, I mean, but to be fair, you could hide goddamn Stone Cold Steve Austin in this mess practically, and who would notice?
Congratulations to Magnus, by the way. Not having any of these visa issues. Maybe he could talk to his buddy Heckel and give him some advice.
Well, that's because he had a MasterCard a long time ago.
Wardlow, they seem to be going with some kind of renewed thing with him. They had the big fiery promo. Came out here with a big black eye and he won the match. the Undisputed Kingdom may be doing something a little more seriously now. Who knows? But what do you think of the
people? That is why that Buster Keaton won all those Oscars when he switched and became a dramatic actor after he'd been the funniest man in the movies.
He never won any Oscars.
Exactly. Because he never switched and became a dramatic actor because that face. The fuck, right?
You're saying they should change his name to Buster Wardlow?
Well, I'm saying they should have changed his name to Buster Hyman. That was a guy that we always loved in school, but no, you can't. Now, as we're going to talk about here coming up next with this next fiasco, they're actually trying to make, in some respect, the Undisputed Kingdom, aka the Devil's Henchmen, aka Adam Cole's group, or whatever the fuck this thing has been, after they spent the entire time telling us that Taven and Bennett and Roderick Strong were complete comedy jackoffs and beat them like drums, and they couldn't beat anybody. They never won anything, and all they were doing was screaming like lunatics and playing with stuffed animals. Now they're putting them over, and we're supposed to take them seriously. And what the fuck? And to break Wardlow out of that is long overdue. But sometimes he's with them and sometimes he isn't. But the point is they can't get Wardlow over because the time has passed. The bloom is off the rose, and they missed their opportunity. He needs to go away. And he needs to go to another company if he's ever going to do anything. But the only thing that these people give a shit about is they want to see him power bomb somebody and beat him. His interview the other night, like he was a screaming fucking lunatic. There was a clip from Collision where he's just screaming at the top of his lungs. He's trying to talk everybody into that his time is now. No, your time is past. It's gone. It's in the archives. Vapor. History. It's not coming back. Look it up in the Funkin' Wagnalls. So this is a completely fruitless task that if he spends time on it, it's going to get old quick. Tony, I'm talking about. If he actually spends time now trying to make Roddy and Taven and Bennett and Wardlow. Many of those I like. I've never met Wardlow, and I think his ceiling is limited because he can't fucking talk, and he's probably an idiot. But the other guys I've liked in the past, but it's over. You've pigeonholed them, pal. You've told people they're fucking clowns. They ain't gonna buy them now. You've tainted your merchandise. The meat is spoiled.
When MJF returns, presuming he does one day,
somewhere over the rainbow,
do you put him back in a program with these guys?
Of course not.
Because he never got his revenge, obviously. They conspired together to get rid of him.
The whole reason why MJF should be out as long as possible is so people will have time to forget this ever happened. It was a goddamn fart in church. Nobody enjoyed it. And it's going to have no heat. Adam Cole is going to be so cold, he'll be frozen in an iceberg like the 1951 version of The Thing. No. MJF needs to stay out long enough that either his contract expires and he can go home to fucking Triple H, or until they forget all about what they did to him on the way out. And as again, Wardlow's done, let's go ahead and advance to the next match here.